One of the more common questions I receive from viewers is why I made this channel. Well, it's a lot of fun in the first place, and when you collect something, you kind of want to share what you know or you think you know. There's kind of another reason, and that was I wanted to create some kind of historical record, electronic record, of all these rifles and shotguns and handguns of historical importance and maybe not so historically important, but that people own. I was lucky and could pick up the Gun Digest or Shooter's Bible or any of a number of printed sources for information. And there were a lot of reference books. I've shown you some of them. But I noticed young people mostly are online. And there are a lot of shooting and gun sites online, as you all know. But I thought I'm in kind of a unique position, having collected for so many years and knowing so many collectors, and then because of my travels, knowing collectors in different parts of the world. So I thought, well, I'll make a record of these guns as I know them. I don't know them as well as a lot of you do, but hopefully I make up for intense or specific knowledge with kind of volume, if you like. Anyhow, today is, I think, an interesting video because I have 3 22s that I call kind of orphans in my collection, and it's hard to make a video on just one of them, so I thought I'll show you 3. And as I was preparing here in the studio, I received a message from Reg. I think he's overseas, but I'm not sure. Anyway, Reg, I guess you're about to buy one of these or 2 of these Husqvarna 22s. And so I thought, well, this was one of the orphans, meaning it doesn't tie in with any part of my collection because I don't have that many single shot 22s. But if you happen to come across one of these Husqvarnas, I highly recommend buying it. It has a wonderfully made octagonal barrel. The sights are near perfect. And the front sight has that old, I don't know how to describe it, kind of muzzleloader look to it. Anyway, I've used this rifle a lot lately. It has a long barrel, as you can see, and with the CCI Quiet 22 rounds, this thing's just about silent. Obviously, it's hard to put a scope on this thing, and I wouldn't do it anyway. The bolt handle lifts straight up, as you can see. And operation, again, you can't make a long video on this 22. You just drop a round in and close the action. And it has kind of a decocker. It's got a well-designed slanted, I guess it's the striker. Some people call it a thumb piece, and so you just hold it and you can lower the striker. Some people say don't do that, and I get a lot of messages and advice. Anyhow, generally speaking, I load just before I'm ready to fire, and it's a great 22. And Reg, if you can buy 1 or 2 of these, I would. I only had a chance to buy 1, and the safety is a pivoting affair right here. You can probably see how it operates. I looked all over this thing, and it just says Husqvarna on the barrel, and then it has some indications for distances on the rear sight. There's no model number that I could find, but it was referred to in some places as the model Sakrat, S-A-K-R-A-T. You folks in Sweden probably know what that means, and I had more than one person tell me what that means, but the answers were differing, so I thought rather than say anything, I better say nothing. So anyway, great 22. Next one, again for the record, and one of my favorite 22s, made in England on the barrel. It has Birmingham small arms, and it's the Sportsman Model 15, and I read that right off the barrel, just sometimes I get confused. Somebody drilled and tapped this for an aperture sight, which it would be warranted. This is an exceptionally accurate rifle, and you can see BSA on the buttstock. And this is a typical tubular repeater, and this was I guess from the days where there was a kind of an arms industry in the United Kingdom for the regular sporting market. Obviously there's still Holland and Rigby and all the rest of them. But just for regular sporting guns, I think BSA was one of the best. And you've probably all seen the modified Enfields that BSA put out, which are one of my favorite sporting rifles. This one, like the Sekrat, has a long barrel, very quiet. You can see the action. When I saw it first time, it's cocked now, I thought it was a 22 Magnum because of the length of the bolt, but it's just a 22 long rifle. And it's stamped 22 long rifle, and it has all the regular British markings, which are nice to see. But I shoot anything out of it. It seems to work for me. If you do find one, they're not very expensive, and it's a beautifully made rifle. And in these days where, you know, collectors are affected by where a firearm is manufactured, you've probably heard of Weatherby's made in Germany, Weatherby's made in Japan, Browning's made in Belgium, Browning's made in Japan. That doesn't mean that if they're made someplace else they're inferior, but for a collector, whether it's stamps or coins or whatever, place of manufacture is significant. And there's definitely a premium to guns made in England. It probably has something to do with the pedigree of arms from the United Kingdom that prevails to this day. I think a lot of people feel Holland and Purdy, and those names are the best names in gun making and have been for a long time, even though firms like Hartmann & Weiss in Hamburg try to make perfect British guns. I hope nobody's offended by that, but may as well just buy the British product. Anyhow, there's the BSA. And then this one, you've all seen Anschutz 22s, so that's nothing new, and it says right on the action, made by CIL Anschutz, Waffenfabrik, or Waffenfabrik and interestingly, on the receiver ring, CIL model 125. Canadian viewers will know that CIL stands, I believe, for Canadian Industries Limited, and they made a joint venture of some kind with Anschutz, and you'll see a lot of Anschutz rifles. This one is particularly appealing. Very light and very handy. Almost has that toyish feeling, but superbly accurate. There are some markings on this beech stock, which doesn't mean anything, just cosmetic blemishes. Removable magazine. The trigger is as excellent as any Anschutz magazine, and I've seen CIL 125s and all kinds of other model numbers. Some people study them. I don't have the time, but if you run across these, don't be discouraged by the CIL. It's still, I don't know what this would cost new. If it's made, I have a hunch there's an equivalent kind of model. But these, you know, they easily go $900, $1,000 and higher. And these used ones, sometimes if you're lucky, are $300 or $400, which is pretty good. It's just a sheet metal trigger guard, but I have a hunch that it's still a sheet metal trigger guard. And you can see some of the blemishes here. But as I say to a lot of collectors, and have said for a long time, the external appearance of the firearm, that's significant to us as collectors and sometimes shooters, but it really doesn't impair the operation of the firearm at all. People go and take something like this and spray it and put Cerakote and all kinds of stuff like that. I don't see the point. If the gun is just as accurate with a few marks on it, I just leave it as is. And of course the bore is the variable, it has to be good. But yeah, those are the three that I thought I would show you, and I'm going to continue making these. They're probably not the most popular, but we have a growing number of young viewers, and I thought, well, that's excellent. So they see a gun in a used store at a pawn shop or something like that. Certainly it's not a black rifle. They won't see it at the SHOT Show. They don't have access to the books that I had access to. so they can punch the names online and find out that these are, in most cases, far superior to modern rifles. So there are 3 for you for the record books, so to speak. Anyway, as always, thank you for watching and being patient with my videos, and please join me if you can on Patreon and Instagram, and we'll be shooting more videos over the coming days. Hope you can join me again, and all the best to you out there. Take care.